Hi guys, Funsho here from wecoachcrypto. Hope you're all doing well. Right, first things first, as always, you guys know we are on a mission to help 1 million people understand cryptocurrency. And part of that means that we want to talk to different projects that are out there that are breaking into this space and helping people to understand DeFi, offering different products, different services. And today I'm joined by a special guest, Mike Taormina from Index Cooperative. How are you doing today, Mike?
Doing well. Thanks very much for having me.
You are welcome. You are welcome. So, Mike, please do tell us a little bit about yourself. And also, if you could explain for us just briefly what DeFi is, because this is a huge thing in cryptocurrency at the moment that people are going mad about. So, what is DeFi?
Sure. So, DeFi or decentralized finance refers to an ecosystem of financial applications that are built on the blockchain. In most cases, about 2/3 are built on Ethereum. And what makes it different from traditional finance is that it is permissionless. There is not a centralized gatekeeper preventing participants from accessing these protocols or projects. Anyone in the world with an Ethereum wallet can participate. So that's number one, access. Number two is it's interoperable. It's as if we took the financial system and built it from scratch the right way so that things can connect and better talk to each other. You see a lot in Web 2, APIs, bridging very old legacy dated technology to other systems, to one another so that they can talk. Well, in DeFi, because it's on the blockchain, because these are brand new rails, it's very easy for all of these systems to talk to each other. And so therefore it's open source. You can actually take code that's already been built and you can repurpose it for your project and add some new features to it. So you're seeing a lot of that in the space as well. And it has exploded. So in Q1 of 2020, probably around March, April, there was about $1 billion of places dollar value, not market cap. So actual dollar value of funds using these systems in aggregate. And today, that is ballooned to now over $100 billion. So that is, massive growth in just a year and a half.
Definitely, absolutely huge. I appreciate you sharing that with all the people that are watching as well. So, obviously, Mike, I met you at Token 2049 in London, which was a fantastic event. You guys were there, and I was really interested in what Index Cooperative were doing. And I think these type of events are so good for people to come and attend just to learn more about the space. And there were a lot of conversations about regulation and what that framework looks like, and why it's been such a slow advancement, I suppose, from the bank's perspective. And it just puts so many things into perspective. But what I wanted you to do is just tell us a little bit more about Index Cooperative and let everybody know what it is that you guys do.
Sure. I mean, I agree. I think conferences are incredible at accelerating everything that you want to do with your business. So our opportunity in London, we've done it in New York. We went to Miami for Bitcoin Miami. The ability to get in front of so many people and people who you both know, and then there's the surprises, just these ad hoc run-ins, which I'd say that was what happened with us. So Index Cooperative is the leading source of on-chain crypto index funds, right? We're a decentralized community, global, every region, every continent other than Antarctica, all working together. I mean, we have people who are content and growth marketers, technologists, crypto experts, TradFi fintech refugees like me, all working together to make crypto simpler, safer, and more accessible. And the way that we do that today, we have 6 products, and that products we continues to grow. And so it's a little bit of something for everybody, right? There's a bucket of products that get you exposure to key crypto themes. So there's a product called the DeFi Pulse Index, or DPI, which gets you exposure to decentralized finance. We have a product called the Metaverse Index, which is all about all of the things, sports, music, gaming, that are moving on to virtual worlds. We have our Data Economy Index, which is Web3 applications that are going after Web 2. So this is decentralized file storage, queries, etc. And then we have a starter product that we put together with Bankless. That's our fourth product. It's called Bed. Right now, you're looking at actually at our homepage. If you want to check out the product suite, head straight up to the top. There's a menu on products, right? So we can take a look at the DeFi Pulse Index, and then I'll keep going with the other products. So this is our flagship product. It's been around for a little over a year. It's got about 214 million in total value locked in those smart contracts, and it holds currently 17 different governance tokens. So these are what we would consider the blue chip DeFi names: Uniswap, Aave, SushiSwap, Maker, Compound, Synthetics. It gets you exposure to the lending and borrowing protocols, the derivatives protocols, the automated market maker protocols, or decentralized exchanges, as they're known, all with purchasing one token. So you get all of these 17 components, and you don't have to spend on gas to buy each of the 17. You're really just buying one thing and not worrying about it, and letting the process, which includes a monthly rebalancing, happen behind the scenes, right? So this is our DeFi Pulse Index. The rest of our products, I was saying, we have one with Bankless, which is a crypto starter product, which gets you exposure to Bitcoin, Ethereum, and DeFi via our DeFi Pulse Index. And then our other bucket of products are for active traders. So those are a bit more sophisticated, who are trying to get a leveraged position on, say, Compound, can do that by purchasing a single token and not have to worry about the staking, the borrowing, the next purchase to get the leverage, and then the unstaking then eventually will happen. You buy one token and that entire process is abstracted away. It's tokenized. And so all in, those 6 products now represent or hold $467 million.
Wow, that's crazy. And I think another thing that I wanted to mention and highlight, really, that I think is so important is for new people that are coming into the space, that are looking at cryptocurrency projects that are out there, they don't understand the implications that are involved with buying different cryptocurrencies, custodying different cryptocurrencies, exchanging them, buying them, selling them, the tax implications that come in. And I think that having a service like this that's available to people, not just at a beginner level, but it just simplifies things for them. It gives you that amount of exposure that's required in one simple package. And I think that's a great thing that you guys have put together there.
Well, it's actually how I got involved in the space to begin with, right? So my background, it's always been in finance, and I've hit every stop of the finance superhighway, I guess, at this point, because I started off my career in traditional asset management as a JP Morgan. The last 10 years, I've been in fintech. I co-founded a couple companies, both in the lending space, done some insurtech, but in late 2020, that's when I first heard about DeFi. The space is relatively new, and those that are in it haven't been in it that long, right? So for me, it's just going back to December. And when I came across DPI, I said, this is great. I'm really jumping into the space. There's so much to learn. There's so much to research. I don't know the names that well yet, but I know that this is a space that I want exposure to, and how great I can buy this one thing and not have to worry about picking winners. And for me, that that process continued, and I wanted to understand who was behind the DeFi Pulse Index, and that's what led me to the Index Cooperative, and ultimately to leading a working group and becoming a full-time contributor there.
I love that. I think that's great. That's fantastic. So in terms that, you said something there that I want to touch upon as well, that I continually try and champion to people, make them understand. But you're talking about 2020, And you're talking about currently a project that has got close to 500 million. 2020, you were looking into this. How early are we in the advancement of this marketplace, in your opinion?
Extremely early, but because it's decentralized, permissionless, and global, you can see that the growth that we saw, and that others have seen. I mean, look at a compound. There's a great website. It's one of our methodologists actually, which is DeFi Pulse, right? They have a leaderboard that tracks all of the DeFi projects and also how much dollar-wise is being used in those projects. And in the case of a compound or an aave or uniswap, it's billions at this point. Our project started about a year ago, a little over a year ago. It was the first week of October in 2020. And so it's gone from 0 to nearly $500 million in a year, which is kind of mind-blowing when you think about how long it would have taken to do that in fintech, or traditional finance when you start something new.
Definitely. Yeah. I think a lot of people don't understand the exponential growth that happens in this market. There's a lot of fluff in this market with people that are willing to invest into projects that I don't want to shill or anything like that, but there's different communities that are out there that champion different things. You've got that typical thing about meme coins, but when you start looking at this sensibly and looking at, serious investment and which companies are out there that are growing and why, and I think that's so important, why these projects are growing at the rate that they are, because of the problem that they solve, the type of project it is, the type of backing that they've got, the partnerships that they've got. That's when you can start really positioning yourself in a place where you can take advantage moving forward over the coming years, where you can be sat at the front of exponential growth that's coming into this marketplace. So what was it that drew you in initially? Okay, because I know that you said about DeFi Pulse, but I mean, the space as a whole, one thing I love about this space is, the community is amazing. And I know a lot of people think that that's cliche, but it genuinely is. Everybody's out there to help one another. Everyone is so friendly as well. I mean, what was it, the technology that drew you in, or the monetary side? What was it for you?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of everything, but one thing that sticks out when you say that are the people who were on the team, just incredibly smart folks. And they come in, they sign up every day to come back, right? No one is an employee. Everybody is a contributor to the community. So you come to Index Cooperative, you really don't know yet how to get involved. You go join a few calls and find something that matches with your interests and your skill sets. And magically the people find the right place that they should be. The folks who are running our treasury, for example, they put out incredibly good content on what's going on. So it's very transparent. They're the perfect people to be doing this. And so we're lucky to have them. But I feel the same way when you look at any one of our working groups. So that's very Index Cooperative specific in my case, but I think that's something you see across the board. The community of developers, but increasingly, content and growth marketers who are getting the word out to the mainstream that are pouring into the space is incredibly bullish, in my eyes. And then, the technology, of course, is a big deal. And so, coming from fintech, and the promise of fintech was we're going to make everything, so much more efficient. But in reality, you're still working with these old systems. So you're putting a nice sheen on something that is still quite archaic. And the promise of building something from scratch and having it actually do those things, be able to have one system easily talk to another and for it to be extremely efficient, that was another big selling point for me. And so basically, once I started to dig into it more, I said, I have to be involved in the space. And then ultimately, why is this interesting? And that's a big question, because if you look at the market today, you have the lending and borrowing. There's two main use cases. There's the lending and borrowing, and then there's decentralized exchanges where you can be a market maker, or you could come to the exchange and you can simply put on a trade. That's the vast majority of the activity in the space are these two use cases. If you look at it today, it's folks who are swapping tokens for tokens, or they're lending tokens and others are borrowing them and they're levering up those tokens. And you might think to yourself, this seems like just crypto for crypto's sake, like we're just pushing tokens around. But if you just do one little tweak to that thought and realize that we're very likely moving to a future where everything is tokenized, and that these rails are going to facilitate that economy and that commerce, then everything makes sense. For me, that was the, okay, I buy into this as the future of finance, and I want to get involved.
Yeah, I love that. It's I mean, obviously, because you come from a fintech background and like you've worked at JP Morgan, like your understanding of finance is going to be way ahead of most. But for me personally, like the technology blew me away with Bitcoin. I'm lucky enough to have been in this for about 5.5 years, and I've seen the infrastructure get built. I've seen the banks scrambling around to try and make use of the technology and start implementing their own, CDBCs. And but the tokenization is amazing. Like for me, the NFT marketplace, just as an example to talk about, the fact that you can tokenize individual items on games and little snippets of films and sports moments, and I think the gaming industry will be huge in the future. I think for film, for music, it's just blowing up, this whole industry. There's so many things, but it's not just from a monetary standpoint. Like, this is genuinely changing the whole world, how we're interacting with one another and how we see things. And I think that it's a beautiful thing. I'm just glad that I'm involved in it and that I'm helping to educate people that are out there. And I appreciate people like you coming on to share your valuable knowledge with us and what you guys are doing. One of the things that I did want to look at as well, because I took a look on the website, could you talk to us about the governance side? I'm just going to share that as well. Just so people know a little bit about that, that'd be great.
Sure. So one of the things that makes an organization like Index Cooperative different from your traditional organizations is that it's a DAO, right? So we're a decentralized autonomous organization, folks all over the world, and you come as a contributor, and over the course of the month, you'll add value in whatever way you can, right? We have something like 12 or 13 different working groups. Institutional business is the one that I've been involved with, that I co-lead, but there are many others: product, treasury, growth, etc. And at the end of the month, for your contributions, you receive our governance token, Index. And what does Index allow? It allows you to vote on proposals, not just proposals that directly impact the Index Cooperative, but also those that impact the protocols that our products hold. So in the case of DPI, you see that there's an aave proposal there. DPI is accumulating more and more aave tokens. And the Index token holders vote for those aave tokens. A proposal, there's an active one right there. It's something about parameter updates, and you can check out on their site like the full proposal if you wanted. And so that's a live vote right now. We have 13,000, so this is going to go through today, right? And we need to hit a little over 100,000 in quorum. And whichever way we go, if we go for or against, all of the aave tokens that are in DPI will vote that way. So this is kind of a separate vote to determine how the aave votes or aave tokens will vote. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think what's important about that to highlight is that you haven't got a group of people that are sat at the top controlling how this vote's going to be. This vote is by the people.
That's right.
Which is fantastic.
And if you scroll down a little bit more, you'll probably see some proposals. Okay, so anything with IIP is going to be an index specific vote.
I'm with you. Okay,
and so what makes
great.
it interesting is everyone gets to participate. Things probably move a little bit slower in some cases, like big decisions take longer to be made. I'd argue that's a good thing.
Of course,
Because
definitely.
they need to go through this process of it gets put on the forum, we'll debate it, we'll thrash the ideas around this. This also happens with our products, which have a higher bar for getting across the line. You need 60% in favor rather than just a regular majority. But I think the net result of that are just better outcomes.
Definitely. It's decisions for the people by the people, isn't it? And I think that that's commendable. And it's how, this is what I mean, we're restructuring the way the world works, how businesses work. You've got involvement in it. You've got, your vote matters. You actually have a voice now. In traditional finance, unfortunately, decisions are made by the people at the top. You don't get a say, which is why I think this is so attractive to people that are starting to understand the way the world works and what this kind of opportunity looks like with blockchain technology, cryptocurrency, decentralized finance, and companies like Index Cooperative are doing a good thing. And it's great to see. I really appreciate you coming on today. And what I wanted to do as well, this is like a final question that I ask a lot of people. Yeah, so I don't want to put you on the spot at all, but it's just my opinion. Okay, so with the current crypto market, we're extremely bullish. Okay, we go through different cycles, obviously, but I just want from your perspective, because you've got a lot of history when it comes to finance. You've been in this space for a little while now. You understand how things work yourself. Do you see this continuing to be bullish for the rest of this year? Do you think it could be going into next year before we actually see this cool off a bit? Because obviously, we've seen new all-time highs again with some of these projects, haven't we?
I think that folks, especially those that have been in the space for a while, still have PTSD over crypto winter. But if you look at that in, with some perspective, I think almost to the point where we're doomed to constantly go back to periods like that.
Yeah.
And I look more to what happened with, the internet, where you had the .com bubble in the late 90s, because there was a lot of hype about the technology, but there just wasn't the use cases there. And so in 2017 through arguably 19, right? Yeah. There wasn't much there. And what was so exciting when I started looking deeper into DeFi, and of course NFTs have emerged as well. These are real use cases, and that makes it very different. And potentially, you think about coming out of that bubble and bust for Internet 1.0, right? You started to have the emergence of the Googles and the Facebooks, which continued to grow. Technology just continued to grow as an industry for a long time. So I'm someone who, are we going to have pullbacks? Absolutely, for sure. Yeah. But I don't expect us to revert back to a crypto winter-esque scenario. And I think we're going to continue to see mostly growth and up, for a while, even if we have those occasional pullbacks, which are inevitable in a space as nascent as this. Does that make sense? It's just, to me, comes off a lot different than the 2000, late 2017 to 2019 period.
No, I'm completely with you. I've got a similar outlook. It's like, we're not the same market that we used to be. There are so many institutions in, so many of these use cases that were ideas initially are actually being implemented now. The amount of money that's come into this marketplace is growing at an exponential rate. And for me, I think that volatility will slowly, it's going to take years, become less and less. And I think that institutions and adoption and money coming into the market can only continue. Of course, we're going to have those, corrections that might be 60-70% at times, but that's just part and parcel of this marketplace. But I do believe over time it will become less, but I can't see a 2-year bear winter myself.
Right.
I think that, you know, we're not past it, but I can't see it being for that duration of time. People are going to pull profits. They naturally do in any marketplace. But for me, it's just growing from strength to strength. There's so much going on. It's just crazy.
Two issues might be, one in DeFi, because, you know, you can stake and then you can borrow and then you can buy something else. Like, money multiplies within the system, and so it's kind of it's very intertangled. And so some of those periods of volatility, we saw this in May when there was that big sell-off, the massive deleveraging. So I think DeFi is prone to that. And then the other thing is, of course, you know, regulatory clarity. Everyone's looking for more regulatory clarity, and so that's something that could, you know, perhaps be something that temporarily brings the market back a bit. But I think in the long term, that's going to be a good thing, because clarity will just help with everything.
Definitely. I think that's a massive thing that I took from Token 2049 as well. It's like, you know, slow and steady wins the race. There's so many people getting into this space, and, you know, seeing the type of profits that they can make just by having some exposure in it. And it's exciting. And then you've also got the cliche that, you know, it's full sovereignty, the community, and we're anti-banks and all the rest of it. And I get all that, and I'm on board with that. But we also have to understand that there is a reason why they do things the way that they do in certain circumstances, because they're actually trying to protect everybody's money to an extent. I know that, you know, the people at the top might not always be positioning themselves correctly for our interests as people that are using banks, but for the crypto space and for it to mature, you know, some of that regulatory framework has to be implemented. Otherwise, that volatility can affect people badly. It's like even the insurance side of things. So I'm starting to see that evolve now. You know, if you lost some crypto a few years ago, you know, that's it, it's gone. You know, there's no insurance company that will come and bail you out. And I think the way that things are starting to get built now, and some of the protection that's in place, like even the wallets today, they're so different. It's like, I remember back in the day, if you typed the wrong, you know, number or letter in and sent some crypto somewhere, that's it, it's gone, it's lost. Now it will say to you, that's not a Bitcoin address that you've just typed in, or that's not a XRP address. And I think things like that, we're definitely moving in the right direction.
Yes, there is so much left to do, though. I mean, to improve it to the point where, you know, my mom can start buying this comfortably. And I think that's really where this needs to go, right? The whole promise here is access for everybody, and we need to bring the mainstream, the market, into crypto. And today it's the folks who are willing to break down walls to figure out these relatively tricky processes, like setting up someone, you know, that you get them set up with a centralized exchange account, but then the process of getting the funds over into a MetaMask and making sure that they've done it the right way, and then they go into the exchange and they buy whatever token they buy, it's still a process. All right. And so there's a lot of improvement to be done there. And I think we're set on how can we make this easier for the mainstream. Part of our mandate at Index Cooperative is the fact that buying a token is very much, a single token is very much something that works with the mainstream, because they're doing it today with traditional finance vehicles. So that's something that they're familiar with. But the infrastructure, I guess, like, especially when it comes to wallets, we needed to improve from a user experience standpoint for that to happen.
Definitely. I completely agree with you. I think simplifying the process is the key here to having a flood of further adoption, because it's just key. You know, I think education is so important. I think simplification is so important, and there will be other companies and projects out there that will come up with these fantastic ways to simplify things, because we've already seen it. You know, what the marketplace looked like when it had, you know, a few hundred projects in it and a tiny little market cap to what it is today. There are a lot of you know, smart individuals that have brought some amazing projects to the table, and I think it's just a matter of time. Obviously, Web 3.0, MetaMask, you know, for someone that's not extremely tech savvy, it's a scary prospect. You know, it's not the easiest thing to do, and you start using these, you know, AMMs and what slippage you need. It's like, it's confusing for some people. So having something simple that eradicates that, or just makes it a slightly easier process, I think is going to make us come on in leaps and bounds for sure.
And what you're doing is super valuable. You know, you have making the wallet experience better, but people just need to be, anybody that when I came to space, you need to wash over this information, you know, over yourself several times for it to click. And so it's, you know, opportunities like these are invaluable for people to learn.
Without a doubt. No, Mike, absolute pleasure having you on today. Thank you very much. You've shared a lot of quality information and knowledge for all of our customers to take advantage of and followers to take advantage of. Please, guys, if you have taken anything from this video, make sure you like it, share it with anyone that would take advantage of the information that's been shared. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit that notification bell to get updated with future videos. Mike, absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming on today.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. And guys, we will catch up with you in the next one. Take care.